Good evening, listeners of the Obsessive Viewer podcast. How are you guys? Hopefully, you're enjoying the start of a wonderful fall season and gearing up for Halloween. I know that we are. We here at Obsessive headquarters really dug deep this month to bring you some cool Shocktober content along with non-horror themed episodes, of course. We hope you guys have liked those. By the way, this is Mike, or I am Mike White on Twitter. You can find Matt at Obsessive Viewer and Tiny at Obsessive Tiny. We recorded this special episode a little while ago, but we've all been super excited to release it because it features our first ever celebrity guest. We were able to score an interview with John Dugan from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, and it couldn't have gone better. Like I said, we recorded this about a month ago because for John, October is a busy month. He's currently hanging out with fans and old friends on the horror convention circuit. He's always got great stories, and he's really one of the nicest people I know, so make sure you say hi if you're at one of the conventions and you see him. I'm getting a little wordy here, so before we get started, remember to like us on Facebook. You can check out the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, and you can email us with comments, questions, or suggestions at ovpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope you enjoy the episode. We hope you've enjoyed our Obsessive Viewer podcast in Shocktober. It's the most wonderful time of year, but we wanted to save the best episode for last, or almost last, I guess. I'm Mike, and of course I'm here with Matt and Tiny. Today on the podcast we have a very special guest, special for two reasons. One, this man is the father of my oldest friend. He's a close friend of the family since before I was born. And secondly, he's grandpa. Not my grandpa, but Leatherface's grandpa. That's right. John Dugan, grandpa from Texas Chain Saw Massacre, is here with us. How you doing, John?
How you doing, Mike? Hey, Tiny. Hey, Matt.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
We're good, yeah. So when I asked you to do this, you said that October is kind of the busy time. So are you like in the midst of conventions and things right now?
I'm 2 weeks into a 5-week convention run right now. Oh, I leave at 3. I leave here at 3 in the morning to go to the airport to go to Michigan, Kalamazoo, and then I go to the following weekend. I'm in Atlanta, and then the weekend after that, Tempe, Arizona.
So building up your frequent flyer miles.
And yeah, so September and October are pretty busy. In October, I got a couple of personal appearances I'm not even sure of yet. So, and then I'm going to England. Hopefully, going to England in November
for Texas Chain Saw stuff.
Which is
awesome.
For a show in Birmingham, England. So, which is great because November, December usually is nothing. After Halloween, there's nothing until the end of January usually. So, on the con circuit.
Right.
Wow,
that's awesome.
John, I actually met you at, where was it? It was a horror or what was the name of the convention?
Was the Days of the Dead in Indy?
Yeah, Days of the Dead in Indy.
Days of the Dead.
Yeah, and it was actually really neat because, Mike, it was the first. I believe it was. Was it the first time you and Mike had seen each other in a while?
In a good 10 years.
God.
Yeah.
For at least 10 years, probably. And then it was his folks' house in Court, and it was really, really brief.
Yeah.
And he was sort of a brooding, some 17-year-old or something.
Yeah. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Didn't
talk too much. So.
I was into horror movies and stuff.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
No.
Horror movies make you smarter.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, and I was there because I see your daughter quite often. I keep in touch with her, and we made it a big deal to surprise you. You were there for the Texas Chain Saw reunion, right?
Yeah, that was the July before last.
Yes, that's correct. How are those things? Do you love doing those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you make money and you have fun. You get to see old friends. You get to make new friends. Fans are great. I love my fans. Our fans in general are just fun people.
I find that there's some of the most passionate fans of anything out there. They're the most resilient fans.
And they're very knowledgeable about the genre,
Totally.
Way more than me. I'm just an actor,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe, when I first started, I remember saying to, oh God, I always screw his name up. Redheaded kid he's not a kid anymore, from Children of the Corn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We'll have to look that one up.
So we were sitting across from each other he was the creepy redheaded kid. Anyway, he's of course not a kid anymore. But that, people come up to you and say, so how's, Mike Winston doing? And you go, who? And he goes, oh, he was the lighting director on the third, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
It's like there's some of them think we all live in a big compound or something,
Right. Yeah. You come out for the cons and then you go back.
Like a colony or something. We all have dinner in a cookhouse or something,
Yeah.
There are those that just don't get it.
Right.
The fact that we really are all actors, and they are far more knowledgeable than 99% of us in the business.
Sure.
Because we're journeyman actors, filmmakers, and stuff. You know where the work is, and what's happened to me is just the work has always been in horror.
Yeah.
But I did a romantic comedy if somebody wanted me to.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
I'd love to, actually.
John, you mentioned that you have an upcoming event in England. I've read some of the trivia for the original Texas Chain Saw Massacre film, that it had a lot of trouble actually being shown in a lot of European countries because of the content.
Dude, the reason I really wanted to do England, I did Germany last year, and last winter, and both Germany and England. The original Chainsaw has just been released recently in the last few years.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the fans are hungry to see some of the actors and everything. So I'm really looking forward to doing this thing in Birmingham. I probably should have mentioned it because I don't have a contract yet or anything. But I just shook hands with the guy. I look up and I was in Lexington at a show, and I look up and there's Eric Brandon, who is the German guy that brought me over to Germany last year, and he's standing at my table. I was like, Eric, what the hell are you doing here? I came to see what it was all about,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so we shook hands on the deal. He said he'd like to get me to England.
Yeah.
And he'd get back in touch with me when he got back to Europe. So
Very cool.
I'm dying to do that.
Yeah. There's so you don't all go back to your convent when you're done. But do you have like your best friends at the conventions?
Boy, that's a loaded question. I can't really say. I have a lot of close friends.
Yeah. So do you kind of make a
The thing
point?
is, you don't see everybody
Right.
every time, but you always see somebody that you're really fond of every time.
Right.
You can have dinner with and a few drinks and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you're constantly making new friends.
Right.
So you're never alone. When you go to one of these things ever.
That's cool.
Sometimes you'd like to be, but
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're quite popular. I talked to Ari, the first Jason guy, and I kind of told him the story how we surprised you and all that, and your daughter was there, and he's like, oh yeah, John Dugan, great guy, I love that guy. So
yeah, Ari's one of my best buddies.
he is. Yeah.
He's a Chicago boy,
Oh, he is. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lives up in East Lakeview. It's just west of East Lakeview, west of Wrigley Field. About 10 blocks.
Sure.
Southport Street area there, the Southport Street strip.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did not know that. And he does he's a musician, right? Doesn't he? He has
He's a musician, actor.
Yeah.
He has a band, and he acts, and he's on the road all the time with his band, which is called, strangely enough, First Jason.
First Jason, yeah. Yeah.
And he does sort of a horror rock or horror metal or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
All I know after the acoustics are bad, I don't even listen to the first song because I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
Once it starts in and there's bad acoustics, I'm out the door.
Yeah. too
It just
loud.
sounds like white sound to me, you know.
Yeah. That's funny. So you just did Texas Chainsaw 3D recently.
Yeah.
And when you do these conventions nowadays, I guess after the release of Texas Chainsaw 3D, do you talk about that movie a lot, or do they just want to talk about the old one?
People mostly want to talk about the old one.
They do, yeah.
But I, talk about the new one, and I have some photos of myself from the new one that I have autograph and sell.
Uh-huh.
And I'd say it's 80% the original and 25% the newer one, probably.
Yeah.
If I had to break it down into that.
Yeah.
People are really fascinated with the original?
Yeah. Well, there's so much to that, and we'll get into that if you don't mind. But how did you get the Texas Chainsaw 3D thing? How did that come about?
Kim Henkel called me. Kim Henkel produced the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And he was my brother-in-law for a while. He was married to my late sister, Paula.
Okay. Oh.
And he called out of the blue and said, it was just a couple of years ago, and said that this producer had contacted him and they were going to do it and get another version of Texas Chainsaw 3D, and he wanted to know if it was okay for him to give this guy my contact information.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sure. He said, there might be a little cameo in it for you or something. Who knows? I said, well, thanks, Kim. Go ahead and pass it on. So a day later, I get a call from Carl Mazzicone from Lionsgate Films. And he says, John, explained who he was. And he said, we're doing a new film in the Chainsaw franchise. It's going to be shot in 3D. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering, would you care to reprise your role of Grandpa mm-hmm. in our film? And I said, are you kidding me? I've been waiting 38 fucking years for this phone call.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, and that honestly is what I said to him.
That's great.
It's about damn time you people called me.
Yeah. Well, and there hasn't been, I guess that's the tendency in horror. There's not a whole lot of carryover as far as bringing people back for kinds of things, Well,
what happens, I think what happened in my case, and they never even bothered to ask me, but in all the subsequent Chainsaw films, are on a really low budget, mm-hmm. and they probably think you're going to shake them down for a whole bunch of money because I didn't make any money off the first one.
Yeah, that's true.
So they really never brought any of us back. They didn't even contact me at all
mm-hmm.
to even mm-hmm. ask if I'd do it,
mm-hmm.
any of them.
Yeah.
Now I did play a cameo as a cop in the fourth one.
With Renee Zellweger?
I had a scene with Renee Zellweger. I spent mm-hmm. a whole day shooting a scene with Renee Zellweger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
She was like 22 years old, right out of school.
Yeah.
And very nice young woman, but far from being a star yet.
Yeah.
Actually, not far, because the following year she got Jerry Maguire or whatever it was called, and it just shot her to,
right.
On a bullet.
Yeah. Superstar.
Right. So,
have you? Did you when 3D came out? Did you see it in theaters? Was it a big deal?
Yeah, I went down and introduced it. I went here in Louisville area,
mm-hmm.
Down to Oklahoma, and they had a rep, a PR person there.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a bunch of posters, and I signed before, and then I got up in front of a full audience and gave a little talk and sat down in the theater and saw it with everybody.
Yeah. How was the reaction there?
Great, I think. I don't know. They said I was signing. As far as I could tell, I mean, it wasn't a standing ovation or anything.
Right.
But, it was the first modern 3D film I'd ever seen. Really, the only modern 3D film I've ever seen.
Sure. And pretty gruesome at that.
I always consider the 1D version. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Or the 2D or whatever it's called.
Right.
But But that was a neat experience, to talk to fans who had just seen it and everything. And I signed some more afterwards. And here's the neat thing, Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie theater that has a little cafe and a bar in it.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
So while I was sitting down signing, the theater manager came over and asked if he could give me anything. I said, "Yeah, I'll have a beer."
That's the way it should be done.
Yeah.
That's funny.
If only they could all be that way.
Yeah.
Right. We've got one of those like kind of things up here in Indianapolis, and it's far and away my favorite theater in the city.
That's right downtown, right? That was one of the first ones in the country. The one right downtown.
Well, the one I'm talking about is the one on up north on the north side of Indianapolis.
Okay, well, there was one. It might have closed down, but fucking 15, maybe 20 years ago.
Oh wow!
There was one in downtown Indy, and it was really inexpensive to get into because they made their money off of booze.
Oh, nice! Wow!
And they ran first run films, and they had beer and fucking food, appetizer kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
And I think they're no longer there.
Yeah, I think
people got wind of it. They started the Alamo Draft House, which opened in I guess in San Antonio originally. This was for in Austin. I know they're franchised out now. There's several of them.
Yeah, they're expanding. I've always wanted to go to the one to one of those because it sounds like an awesome atmosphere.
Alamo's the one that just sent out the video of the advertisement with the girl who left a voicemail who said that, I didn't know that you couldn't text in a goddamn theater and this and that. Right? Is that the one?
Yeah. Really entitled.
They played it and they're like, "That's right. You can't. Thank you." It's pretty great. I applaud. Everybody was psyched about it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Tiny actually just watched Texas Chainsaw 3D. What was that? Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, and you liked it a lot, right?
I really liked it. Yeah.
Don't blink. You'll miss me. I'll tell you.
Yeah, my big thing. I mean, I'm a horror fan as it is, but I was telling all my friends, I was like, this guy used to. I don't know if you ever changed one of my diapers, but you were certainly around when my diapers were being changed.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure I probably did.
Yeah. And so we were.
Your old man was all thumbs with that sort of shit.
Yeah. Or just throw me in the bathtub. Right.
Hell, I used to take a bath with you and your brother.
That's right. There are pictures of us playing bathtub games, Metalhead and Buckethead.
We used to have so much fun.
Oh, we did.
Still Metalhead and Buckethead game. Oh my God.
Yeah. It was totally nonsensical, totally like a game you play with 3-year-olds. Who
I don't know how we even came up. I think you probably came up with it.
Yeah.
Well, because there was a bucket to
right.
measure how in there.
And you put the bucket on your head, and you're a bucket head, and you're a good guy. You put the towel on your head.
On your metal.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
The towel, you're a metalhead, and you're the bad guy. It's very, very specific, very complicated rules to the buckethead. Metal. I tell you, obsessive viewer listeners, John Dugan taught me the important things in life. Things like to pee on a fire after a bonfire to make sure it's out. The apt time to rip the perfect fart.
My nickname was Uncle Johnny Beer Breath.
Uncle Johnny Beer Breath. That's right. Yeah.
Do you remember the pea tree out in the middle of my pasture?
I do. I remember the pea tree all the time. The pea tree was. We had some deep conversations for a 6 or 7-year-old out there.
Oh yeah.
I remember we had a conversation about what does nothing feel like, and you can't imagine it. It's not blackness because blackness is something. It can't be blank because blank is something. That was pretty deep, and I remember saying that to my friends, and they were like, "What?" I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
you just don't
that's
get
a
it.
question that's been bothering me since I was a wee lad. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't give you nightmares bringing that up.
Yeah, that's okay. It didn't give me nightmares. It just kept me up at night thinking of the possibilities.
I used to lay awake at night thinking about that. What is infinity?
What is infinity? Yeah, I wish I could.
Mean, how far,
Yeah,
infinity. And I gave up religion as a very, very young man.
sure.
like a kid.
Yeah.
And because it just didn't make sense to me, I thought, okay, so there's a God.
Mm-hmm.
Who's his dad?
Yeah.
God's dad.
Yeah.
Okay, then who made God's dad?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
God's grandpa.
Right.
And then you go on and on and on forever.
Right.
And just I thought, well, this makes no sense.
Yep.
And so I just dropped the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean to turn this into a religious
That's okay.
or philosophical thing.
No, by no means.
And we did have some deep conversations.
We did.
Do you remember the time that you and I were probably standing underneath the peach tree talking about nothing, and Kevin, unbeknownst to us, had climbed up in the peach tree and started peeing down on top of us.
Yeah.
Peach tree.
I do. But
oh, he was an irritating child.
he was, but so like Kevin to do. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Well, so then let's tie it back. I remember all of those things when I was younger, but I never remember talking about Texas Chainsaw. Do you remember the first time your daughter watched Texas Chainsaw?
No, I only know that I didn't let Kat see it until she was about 14 years old.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's probably smart.
I was kind of weird about her viewing habits.
Mm-hmm.
She was about 14, and I don't really recall.
Mm-hmm.
I know where we were living, and I remember, the video store and stuff like that, but I don't recall. I do recall, though, she was having a slumber party one time. I had to go 7 miles into town to pick up slumber party supplies.
Yeah.
Which was Cool Ranch Doritos, two Tombstone Peaches, one with pepperoni and one cheese only.
Sure.
And
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. Yeah.
That's right. We drank so much Mountain Dew.
And stop by the movie store and pick up a couple scary movies. I said, well, what kind of scary movies?
Mm-hmm.
And they went, oh, the new Freddy Krueger movie is out. I said, shit, that ain't scary. I said, I'll get you the new Freddy Krueger movie, but I'm going to pick something out for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the new Freddy Krueger, the new Nightmare. Mm-hmm. And then I got the first Hellraiser. These girls are 14 years old.
Yeah. Perfect. The perfect time.
They had that. She had that whole bedroom upstairs at that farmhouse.
Yep.
The whole upstairs, and they were up there eating their Doritos and stuff, and watching the new Nightmare. And you'd hear an occasional scream, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I came down and went to the bathroom, at intermission. And then 5 minutes later, after they went back upstairs, just blood-curdling screams. Mm-hmm. And Peggy said, John, do you think you better go up there? I said, yeah, maybe I better. So I take off my apron.
Yeah.
There's always an occasional apron.
Always, yep.
And go up there, and 3 teenage or preteen girls or whatever jump on top of me. I'm like, it's okay, I'll turn it off. They're one of them's crying, tears streaming down her face. I'm like, no, don't turn it off, but stay up here with us. So I stay and watch it with them all piled on top of me, their heads buried into my chest.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They peek a little bit, and yeah.
Well, that then must have been before they subjected me to watching It. Stephen King's It.
You watched it. Oh, It. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They she forced me to watch
Tim
that.
Curry as Pennywise the clown.
Yeah.
Tim Curry.
Yeah, loved Tim Curry.
Creepy about clowns.
Yeah. You so you showed them Freddy and you kind of you scoffed at the offer. Do you remember after Texas Chainsaw came out, which was in 1974? And Halloween came out 4 years later, and Friday the 13th came out 6 years later. Was there ever we did it first?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But we didn't do it first. We just kind of brought the genre back.
Okay.
because there had been a lag in horror films. There were a lot of very good horror films made for years, but there was just it's like they stopped doing cowboy movies for a while, and then Sergio Leone came back and brought the whole genre back.
Yeah, that's true.
An Italian guy,
Yeah.
And we kind of did that with Chainsaw. And once the studio saw how much money there was to be made,
Yeah.
they couldn't help but just they were trying to find scripts,
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't help but see the influences in those movies post Texas Chainsaw. You got Marilyn Burns was kind of the first of the Scream Queens. All those kinds of things. Really, like slashers of the late 70s, early 80s started with Texas Chainsaw. Where do you think?
Yeah, I'd say that's it.
Where do you think Texas Chainsaw stands, like in the pantheon of the horror greats, like compared to Michael, Jason, Freddy? What do you think about Leatherface? Where's he? Or the family, I guess.
He's number one for sure.
Yeah, scariest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leatherface is. Jason's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Everybody's creepy,
Do you get a lot of, like, at the conventions, do you get a lot of who would win in a fight? Do you get those questions?
I get it on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a fight between these 3 or 4 guys, and who would win?
Right.
And people type in. It's like that old bit on Saturday Night Live, the super fans.
Yeah.
The Bears.
And they've brought back the commercials.
Mini Bears against giant Packers.
Yeah.
Mini Bears.
Who would win in a fight between Ditka or a hurricane? But wait. The hurricane's name?
Is it a full-size Ditka or a mini Ditka?
It's the regular size Ditka. But the hurricane's name is Ditka.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
That's Bob Swirsky's super fans there, Bob. My brother Bill Swirsky's laid up with another heart attack. That makes a baker's dozen.
Great.
He's had 13 heart attacks?
Yeah, that makes a baker's dozen there, Bob.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Was there like a moment after Texas Chainsaw? Surely while you were filming, you couldn't have imagined the popularity, right?
No.
I mean, you weren't saying, "Oh, this is it," right? Was there a moment later? What was the moment? Like, when did you realize, oh yeah, Texas Chainsaw means something to people. This is gonna last.
Well, probably when Johnny Carson started using it in jokes, and when it became part of the vernacular, just the term Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing's worse than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When it became just meaning more than just the film.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's good. Cool. Yeah, it's like a I don't want to say slang term, but I guess part of the vernacular. Worse than a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's interesting.
Let's see, what was summer school when their whole assignment was to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and write a term paper on it.
Yeah.
So it became a part of the American pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, I bet.
Right.
Yeah.
So it certainly did me no good in the beginning. I went out to Hollywood and tried to get acting work, and I go in to see a casting director and toss my resume on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Go out to one of the studios, and they look at my resume and go, "Hey, you were in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre," and they kind of snicker, like roll their eyes.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
Because that was like right after it came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the year after.
Yeah.
So it had been pulled from general release at that point,
right.
And there was no home video yet.
Right.
So it was just kind of like
Yeah.
Like maybe you should take this off your resume. I actually thought it's not doing me any good. Maybe I should just take it off of there.
Yeah.
I never did.
Yeah, it's probably smart you didn't, or maybe not. I don't know. Go ahead.
John, how did you come about getting the job of the role of Grandpa on Texas Chain Saw? I know it was a pretty low budget.
Oh, it was fantastic. I was doing a play at the Goodman Theater in Chicago. A children's play called The Taradiddle Tales, and it was one of my first paying acting jobs. I was making I was wearing tights, a little leotard and tights, green and yellow, and little slippers, and dancing around and entertaining children. 2 shows a day, 6 days a week for like $175 or something. So 12 shows a week, so it's a little over $10 a show,
Yeah.
And wow. Then Kim called me from Texas and said that they were going to roll on this film he'd been working on, and could I come down? And I jumped on it.
Nice.
And
so,
to be a young actor and doing your first film, because I was really curious about filmmaking. I wanted to learn it, and I wanted to learn film acting. I wanted to know everything about film, because I thought that's where my future may lay.
mm-hmm.
Was a lie. I always get those two mixed up, but
I think it's actually lie. It's
lie.
lie.
Okay.
Yeah, lay okay. Lay is to lay something down.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a rush. It was exciting, and so the first half of the summer I was dancing around entertaining kids, and the second half I was hitting a chick over the head with a sledgehammer on camera. So
yeah.
It was an interesting summer, for sure.
Wow. Did you have to you didn't have to audition for it or anything like that, or?
No.
Okay.
Nope. No, nepotism, baby.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah. Did you so you didn't audition, but were they like, well, we're gonna give you Grandpa? Was there ever like
roles. I played 2 roles, but the other one got cut out. I played a teenager at the cemetery.
Oh
wow!
I had like 3 lines, and if you really watch, because I know exactly where it is, you can see the back of my head and part of my right shoulder. I'm wearing a white beater and a cowboy hat, and you can kind of hear my voice in the background.
Huh.
So they cut my close up and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They did 3D.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So having been a part of such horror film history, do you still find yourself being scared by horror movies, or are you just like totally desensitized?
Honestly, I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I do if I'm at a horror film festival, make an appearance, and I have some time, I'll duck into a screening room, watch a little bit of one.
Mm-hmm.
But in all honesty, it's not the genre that I really watch.
Okay.
I can say that I think the first Clive Barker's Hellraiser was the scariest fucking movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
And I know I've met Clive, I've met Doug Bradley. My biggest thrill as an actor, probably, was being in Chicago at Fangoria Festival a few years back, 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all the time I've been on the circuit, I'd never been at the same show with Doug Bradley, who played Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there, but he was behind. He was in another part of the room that I was. There was a curtain behind me. He was on the other side against the wall, and I hadn't had a chance to see him and talk to him or anything. And I went up to my room, splashed some water on my face, put on a clean shirt, went down to the bar. And there were only 4 people at the bar, and one of them was Doug Bradley, and there was an empty stool next to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down, ordered a drink, and he was talking to a guy to his right. I was to his left. I waited till there was a break in the conversation, and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Bradley, but I'm John. And that's as far as I got. Didn't even get the N out of my first name. And he goes, I know who you are, John. I
Wow.
said, you do? He goes, of course I do. I was like, oh, my God, do you know who I am? I said, of course I do, John.
That's that's great.
So I had arrived, yeah.
Wow.
And I met Clive, met Clive again in Chicago.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And,
Do you think the franchise still has some story to tell, or do you kind of feel like they should leave it alone?
I think the new one that came out set up a new story to tell.
Absolutely.
people bitch about the story, but I think since there'd already been 6 films done or something,
right?
They had to change the story curve. They had to do it because they bought the option to do 6 more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Which certainly I hope I'm involved in.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Because baby needs a new pair of shoes, you know.
Yeah.
But
real quick, you mentioned you don't watch a lot of horror movies. Just real quick, what are a couple of your favorite movies, just in generally speaking?
God, that's such a hard question. And it goes back. And a lot of it goes back to my days as a young actor when I was still studying and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say The French Connection.
Okay. Nice.
A little film called Scarecrow, also with Gene Hackman in it. With Gene Hackman and Al Pacino.
Oh
I
wow.
don't know why 2 Gene Hackman films come to mind. I obviously admire him. I went through a period where I watched everything that John Borman had ever done. As I think he's a fascinating director.
Mm-hmm.
I go kind of in cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a really hard.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
kind of threw it on you, but
It is, but it's one of our favorite.
Rebel Without a Cause is a wonderful film.
Yeah.
oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
New films? I don't know.
Okay.
Can't answer that.
Yeah, it'd be hard for us to
Right.
answer too.
Yeah.
It
is. It's hard.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Can't thank you enough for being on here. It's pretty special, pretty cool thing to have you on our little tiny podcast here. No pun intended on your name, Tiny.
That's cool.
By the way. So unless you have any parting words or any film things to plug?
Yeah, I got 2 short films in the can from this year. One called In the Pines, The Beginning, where I play, believe it or not, a grandpa. And then a film based on a short based on Stephen King's The Boogeyman.
Okay.
Where I play a psychologist.
Cool.
Nice.
And I got a couple things coming up. Hopefully, I hope by the end of the year. The one I'm really looking forward to is Mangled. I think it's called Mangled.
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah. Love the
It's got
title
everybody
already.
in business in it. It's got a cast of thousands. Every old horror actor in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
He's gathered together to do this.
I'm looking at it
it's a good
now.
script.
Kane Hodder, who was Jason Voorhees in 7, 8, and 9. Bill Moseley. Edwin Neal is in there. Yeah, a lot of people.
I'd
Cool.
look forward to
Sid
that.
Haig, I think, is it?
Yeah, that's cool.
He is. I don't see him on the front page. You're probably right, though. Oh, there he is. Yep.
There's a whole mess of people.
Yep.
Great.
Cool. Should be good.
That's great.
Well, we'll keep a lookout for that. Again, thank you so much, and thank you, listeners, for listening. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
One more time, thank you guys so much for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. You've been listening for a while now, especially coming toward the end of our Shocktober bonanza, I guess, to use a word that probably is inappropriate. We hope you guys have liked it, and we really hope you guys liked this episode a lot. Please let us know what you thought. If you want to send a message or just say thank you to John Dugan for being on this podcast, please feel free to leave us a message in the comments. You can tweet any of us. Of course, I am Mike at I am Mike White. You can tweet Tiny at Obsessive Tiny, and of course Matt is Obsessive Viewer. You can also email us at ovpodcast@gmail.com. Again, we hope you loved this episode. We really had a blast doing it. Have a wonderful day and have an even better Halloween in a couple days. Bye, guys. So we're just trying to get Tiny on, and then we'll get started.
Tiny?
Tiny, yeah.
If something tells me his name isn't Tiny because he's real small.
No.
Right.
Most
It's-
guys named Tiny are like 7, 8, 450 pounds.
It's close. How tall is Tiny, Matt?
He's like 6'6" 6'4", maybe.
Well, I've known a lot of guys, particularly in Chicago. Well, several guys nicknamed Tiny.
Yeah.
And they're always gigantic.
Yeah.
You know.
You never.
I guess that's supposed to be irony or something.
I guess so. Do you ever see like small guys named Big?
Biggie? No. No, you don't see that.
Yeah.